Okay, here we go. The role of government in advancing quantum technologies. My name is Petra Soderling. I'm the head of government and consortium relations at the Quantum Strategy Institute. I'm also the CEO of my consulting company, Petra Soderling & Co., out of France. A bit more about me in more detail. My background is with Nokia in Finland. I spent 12 years at Nokia doing wonderful different projects across the research, R&D, software, marketing, open source, and so forth. I left Nokia around 2011, moved to New York City, where I founded a startup company. And then later in New Orleans, I founded another. So for a long time, I really worked in the private industry, creating products, launching products. And all of this time when I was doing this work, I was feeling like very proud of the work I was doing and my team was doing. We were creating all these wonderful products. We were creating the innovations and the inventions, never really giving much thought, where does the actual core science, the underlying science come from? And I had a revelation in 2018. The government of Finland contacted me and asked me to start doing foreign direct investment from USA to Finland, which means finding American companies who would be willing to set up R&D operations in Finland. And if you think about a job like this, you have to find something that is so valuable for an American company that they would even listen to you. Why would they move something that already exists or create something new in a country so far away? So that's how I really got into deep tech and also quantum, which is my favorite technologies of all times. And the more I researched these deep technologies, the more I understood the link between government-funded science, government-funded research, and how these companies get the intellectual property and create the products from there. So fast forward, I'm now back in Europe. I'm in France. I started my own consulting company in 2022. I have two clients. I have World Bank, where I consult the Republic of Serbia on the implementation of their AI strategy. And I also have two assignments from the European Investment Bank. One of them is on quantum. We are finding European quantum companies that the EIB could finance. And the other one is across 7 deep tech sectors, again, trying to help the EIB discover EU-based deep tech companies for the EIB to fund. I also represent Finland at the ISO IEC JTC standardization group for quantum technologies. And yeah, my book is called Government and Innovation, The Economic Developer's Guide. It's available on Amazon. I also host a regular podcast around the same theme, the intersection of government and technologies. It's called Deep Pockets with Petra Soderling, available on wherever you get your podcasts from. So this conference is on the topic of emerging technologies and their transformative potential. And what better topic than government and quantum? If you think about quantum, it is definitely emerging and it's definitely transformative. So thanks again for inviting me to speak here. This year is also the International Year of Quantum, the United Nations International Year of Quantum. Here's a picture of me last week at the opening ceremony in the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. The year 2025 was chosen because it recognizes 100 years since the initial development of quantum mechanics. As we're going to see from the next slide, this 100 years is not exactly scientific. So when was the date or the year when quantum mechanics was born? Well, it was somewhere in the beginning of the 20th century. This is a slide that I borrowed from Quantumpedia. Thank you very much, Quantumpedia. Very nice slide. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I want you to follow the curve from 1900 when it's blue, when we laid the theoretical foundations of quantum mechanics and quantum as a field of science, field of physics. And then moving towards the 1980s, when we go towards applications, the emergence of using the science into something that is going to be created into commercial products. Later part of the 80s and 90s, you become not just tinkling with atoms and the physical part of it, but also the algorithmic. So we have Shor's algorithm in 1994, Grover's algorithm also 1994, and then so forth. And as you develop these technologies, as they mature, you are seeing the color turn into orange and red. So in this millennium, we are entering the quantum race. And the quantum race is a race between countries, it's a race between universities, and it's increasingly race between companies. So on this very lowest bar here, you see a number of household technology companies. You see Microsoft, Google, IBM, Honeywell, and then you also see some pure play quantum companies such as D-Wave and Rigetti. And you are going to see how government plays a role in all of this. Okay, so what's happened in 2018? And if you go back to the previous slide, you remember that a lot of these companies started to come into play around that time. So 2018, US launched their National Quantum Initiative Act. The National Quantum Initiative Act is a whole of government approach to ensuring the continued leadership of the US in quantum information science and its technology applications. NQI established goals and priorities for 10 years, but certain authorizations, including the $1.2 billion budget, only for the first 5 years. It was amended by the National Defense Authorization Act in 2022 and the CHIPS and Science Act also in 2022, two extremely important pieces of legislation. Last year, 2024, US senators introduced the National Quantum Initiative Reauthorization Act because the money was running out. So there was a reauthorization of an additional $2.7 billion over the next 5 years. On the lower part of this slide, you see these two years. 2018, what happened with the first bulk of money? Department of Energy established 5 national quantum information science research centers. National Science Foundation established 5 multidisciplinary centers for quantum research. And then NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they launched QECD, the Quantum Economic Development Consortium, for companies and industry come into play. 2024, with this new money, we're going to establish 3 new NIST quantum centers. NSF will create 5 multidisciplinary centers for quantum research and education. Development of a quantum education and workforce hub will go into effect, and then NASA will be able to create quantum satellite communications and sensing for Earth observation based on quantum. So as said, this is a whole of a government approach. These are the agencies that are involved in the National Quantum Initiative Act. You can't really see the shields too well, but if we start from the left-hand side, you're going to see the President and the White House Office of Science and Technology. You see the National Security Agency. There's all the defense agencies. There's NASA for space. There is agriculture. We've got Geological Survey. NSF is their DARPA. Health, standards, Department of Commerce, and Department of State. A whole of government approach. So the US is not kidding around when it comes to quantum. What's happening in Europe? Same year, 2018, EU launched their quantum flagship to consolidate and expand European scientific leadership and excellence in this research area to kickstart a competitive European industry in quantum technologies and to make Europe a dynamic and attractive region. 1 billion euros in funding for 12 years, also amended with EU CHIPS Act. Total funding for the EU CHIPS Act was 43 billion euros, very nice, which included 200 million for quantum chips. Additional funding from the European Investment Bank Group, which is where I'm working right now, European Defence Fund, and European Space Agency all have money dedicated for quantum research. In addition to the EU money, certain individual EU countries have quite handsome budgets. France has allocated 1.8 billion euros for quantum, Germany 3.3 billion, and then other European countries have their own national quantum budgets, although smaller. So what is this money buying? for quantum flagship, quantum computing. As part of the European High-Performance Computing Joint Undertaking, the Commission is building 5 state-of-the-art pilot quantum computers. These are going to be adjacent to the 9 supercomputers, the HPCs, that are also being built under the HPC Joint Undertaking. In addition to quantum computing, the European Quantum Communications Infrastructure Initiative is being launched. This is an infrastructure of existing telecommunications and other networks that are being upgraded to be able to carry quantum key distribution and other quantum safe communications mechanisms. So Europeans will be able to send their secrets back and forth inside Europe very safely. And then also quantum sensing. Much of this is done by the European Space Agency for Earth observation. So that was the US and that was Europe. What about other countries? The Quantum Strategy Institute, Brian Lenihan, the founder and chair, and myself, we conducted this study on what goes into a winning national quantum strategy. And within that research, we looked at also the amount of money and efforts that different countries are putting into quantum. Here's a slide from Curaca. It's from last summer, June 2024. They have estimated that a total of $42 billion have been committed to quantum worldwide. Some of the bigger countries I've already mentioned, but there are many, many countries who have a smaller budgets, but are still doing phenomenal work. As example, Finland, my home country, Denmark, Netherlands, very small national budgets, but still launching lots of quantum science, launching lots of quantum companies. So if your country doesn't have a lot of money for quantum, or even not at all, there's no need to worry, because there are so many different ways to create a good national quantum strategy for you to make use of quantum technologies and make them work for you economically. Okay, so what Brian and I did, we measured the top countries. We got data from the Quantum Insider and their quantum intelligence platform. Thank you, Alex, and Curaca, as you already saw their data there. And we used the following metrics. How much government funding has been committed? How many quantum companies does this country have? How many quantum-involved universities self-claimed? How many investors? How many enterprise users using quantum technology and paying for that product or service? How many patents? How many research papers? Let's see what the results look like. So I'm going to show you 7 blue slides like this. This is the data from the Quantum Insider. We're going to be looking at these metrics that I mentioned. First slide here is top 15 countries by government funding commitment. You'll see that China has an extremely high bar, $15 billion. That is their self-claimed commitment. There's a note on the slide that says this number is highly disputed. Many industry stakeholders estimate it's below 5 billion. The following country there is UK with 4.2 billion, Germany 3.9, USA 3.1. This is a little bit different number than we have. I think I have some defense money in my other numbers. South Korea, France, India, EU, Canada, Netherlands, Denmark, Singapore, Israel, Taiwan, and Japan. And these are going to be the handful of countries that you're going to see throughout the slides. These are like the VIBs, the best of the best countries when it comes to creating and deploying quantum technologies. Next one, top 15 countries by number of quantum-involved universities. Again, this is self-claimed. Any university that declares that we are working in quantum has been added to the list. The US leads by far with 124 universities working in quantum. Next one is Germany with 44, India with 41, UK with 40, and then the list goes on. So these are the number of universities. Next up, we have research papers. What do these universities do? Are they producing outcomes? So previous slide, US had the most universities. China was not high up on that list. However, China has most research papers published. And a note here that based on TQI, the Quantum Insider's proprietary search string makes no adjustment for quality. It's only the quantity of citations. So China is leading, the US is a good second, and then these other countries follow. So it's interesting to see the change between the previous slides where China did not have so many universities, but still they are producing all of these research papers. Top 10 countries by count of quantum patents. Patents may come from universities, they may come from companies, so there's no distinction here. First country there is China, 34,000 patents in quantum, quite remarkable. And the next one is US with nearly 10,000 patents, and then we have the global WIPO filings, then South Korea, Japan, European filings, Taiwan, India, Canada, and Australia. And the kind of the underlying theme with each of these slides is that the number of companies, the number of universities, the number of research papers and patents, they're quite small, and the number of end users, they're quite small. So when we say that quantum is a nascent industry, it truly is a nascent industry. As a research field, it's a bit more mature, but still, compared to some other fields that are being deployed more rapidly, we are a little bit behind. Okay, top 15 countries by the number of quantum companies. And when we have deep tech companies, you really have the role of the government. I'm going to show you later why play a significant part here. Most quantum companies reside in the United States, 459 companies. That's quite a lot compared to the next one, UK with 158. Then we have Germany, Canada, France, Switzerland, and then the rest of these countries have somewhere between 20, 30, 40 companies each. Again, a very small number of companies. Okay, but US is leading by far with the number of companies. Next, number of investors. Not surprisingly, the same country with the most companies has the most investors, 527 investors in the US, and the next one is the UK with 142, and the rest of these countries very flat, ranging from 20 to 70 investors who invest in quantum. Okay. We have the top 15 countries by number of quantum enterprise users. And this is going to be the last of my blue slides. The number of enterprise users, end users, is very important to any technology because your investors are going to be wanting for you to sell your products and services in the market. They want to see ROI on their investment. And by the way, if you're interested in this, the Quantum Strategy Institute, where Brian and I work, we exist to enhance the end user adoption of quantum technologies. And again, the thing to note here is just how few companies there are who are announced that they are buying and using quantum technologies. So we have a long way to go. Let's see who these people are. So here we have the McKinsey study from April 2024. This is their annual quantum study. The next one is coming up in just a couple of months. But let's look at the numbers from last year. Who are the end users in quantum? So on the left-hand side, we have a list of industries. And then in the middle, we have two columns, the economic value from 2025 to 2030 for the next 5 years. And then we have the economic value from 2030 to 2035. So this is the economic value of quantum technologies for these particular industries. And then on the right-hand side, we do have the market size in trillions, but this is in 2035, and I would not lose my sleep over these numbers. To me, they are irrelevant. What's more important is the high, medium, and low ranking of the industries. So first, we have financial services. In the next 5 years, it's a medium value. Quantum is a medium value for this industry. But in the following 5 years, quantum is a high value. Next, there's energy. So we've got chemicals. We have sustainable energy that's mostly PV research and manufacturing, and battery research and manufacturing. So the economic value in the next 5 years is from low to medium, but it will be high in 10 years' time. Third one, logistics, transport and travel, low for now, but will be very high. And then pharmaceuticals is currently a medium value, but then in 10 years' time, pharmaceuticals will also hugely benefit from quantum technologies. So if you're thinking of investing, don't take my advice, by the way, this is not investment advice, but just in general terms, what the data is telling us, that if you want a quicker return from quantum, you should look at financial services, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals for now. If you can wait for 10 years, financial services, energy, travel, logistics, and pharmaceuticals, a good bet. Again, not an investment advice. Okay, to summarize, what have these countries done? So the US, as I said, whole of government approach, comprehensive national quantum strategy, 4.5 billion budget, funding for quantum research, quantum information science research centers, strong public-private partnerships, focus on international collaboration, participating in global quantum initiatives, and fostering bilateral agreements, very typical for the US. What does this money buy? Best in the number of universities, best in the number of companies, best in the number of investors, and best in the number of enterprise users, end users. Very good results. European Union, Quantum Flagship Initiative, long-term, large-scale research program, 1 billion euro budget for 10 years. Across quantum computing, communication, simulation, and sensing, emphasize interdisciplinary collaboration, industry participation, and international cooperation, prioritizing standardization and the development of a skilled quantum workforce. What are the results? Germany is doing really well in national funding, 3.3 billion. Germany is doing really well in the number of universities. They have more quantum universities than China. Amazing. Germany is third in the number of research papers. They are third in the number of quantum companies, and they are third in the number of end users of quantum technologies. France is number 5 in the number of quantum companies, and France is also number 4 in the number of end users. Very good results. China, significant strides in quantum technology driven by substantial government investment and strategic planning, typical to China. Established leading quantum research institutes, developing a quantum communications network. They're very good with the space stuff, advancing quantum computing capabilities, and fostering a skilled workforce. What is this money investment buy? They are the best in the number of research papers, and they are the best in the number of patents. I'm going to end with 2 pictures that most of you might be familiar with. The first one is the Gartner hype cycle, one of my favorite graphs. It tells the story of a new technology from when it has the trigger phase. That is when people start to talk about it, whether it's quantum, whether it's AI, whether it's whatever, mobile phones. Everyone is super excited. This is going to take off. It's going to solve all of our problems. It's fantastic. And then you reach the peak of inflated expectations. People start to realize, it's just all talk. No one is delivering anything. And it crashes down to the trough of disillusionment. And that is when all investments are being frozen. And then gradually, some people are still investing in making products. We see the slope of enlightenment and then the plateau of productivity. That's when the technology is really delivering on products, ROI, companies, jobs, tax dollars, and so forth. So what is the government's role? It is really all in the beginning. It is when investing in core science. That is where the technology trigger comes from, the research labs, from universities. Then governments are funding startups and creating ecosystems for new companies to emerge in this space. And then all the way to the peak of inflated expectations in terms of often the government is the first client, so they are helping with the proof of concept, and they are creating the market with all the different tools that governments have under their belt. The second graph, also probably familiar to many of you, crossing the chasm, as it was popularized by Geoffrey Moore. based on the diffusion of innovation theory by Everett Rogers. And similarly here, you start with a new technology or a new startup company with a new product. First, you have the innovators, all excited about this. Then you have the early adopters, the first ones to take the highest risk. Yes, I want to use this product. But then often you are facing the chasm. For startup, this means that we're running out of money. Maybe for more established companies, it means clients aren't really buying into this. So the problem is how you jump from the early adopters to the early majority users. And this, again, government comes in to help. So first of all, with the innovation itself, the core science, and then the same tools, funding small companies, funding startups, regulating trade agreements, all kinds of things that the government can do to help you cross the chasm and find those early majorities and then the late majority and become successful in the market. So this is really the conclusion and the summary, not just for quantum, but you can read this to apply to any deep technology or emerging technology. What is the government's role? So first of all, governments fund and conduct core research, and they offer STEM education in their countries. This scientific research is published as scientific papers, sometimes protected by intellectual property protection means. Private companies may develop those IPs further, resulting in innovation, productization, commercialization. Government funds and conducts standardization efforts that result in harmonized, interoperable technologies ready for commercial prime time. Governments are major owners in fields that are the early adopters of quantum technologies. Hence, governments are often the first customer for a deep tech company. And governments create favorable economic environment for companies by regulating interest rates, taxes, trade agreements, immigration, by building and purchasing infrastructure, investing in education, investing in R&D, and directly funding companies of all sizes. That was my presentation. Thank you very much. If you have any feedback, comments, feel free to email petra@petrasoderling.com. Check out my book on Amazon, subscribe to my newsletter, Government and Innovation on Substack, and find my podcast, Deep Pockets, wherever you get your podcast. And of course, do visit the Quantum Strategy Institute website for more research and more discussion on this same topic. Thank you very much.